At first glance, niacin-enriched foods seem like a nutritional win. Your cereal box promises 100% of your daily niacin needs before you've even had a cup of coffee. Energy drinks and processed snack bars come fortified with B vitamins so aggressively, they practically glow in the dark. And for decades, public health campaigns have leaned heavily on fortification as a low-cost way to prevent nutritional deficiencies. But when it comes to the long game, sustained health, metabolic balance, and avoiding the subtle creep of nutrient overload, the story of niacin-enriched versus whole food-based diets gets a lot more complicated. Niacin, vitamin B3, is critical for cellular energy production, as it's the precursor to NAD and NADP, coenzymes involved in mitochondrial function, DNA repair, redox balance, and even gene expression. Deficiency, which once led to the gruesome condition pellagra, is now rare in developed countries thanks largely to food fortification. But just because enrichment solved one problem doesn't mean it hasn't quietly created others. Let's start with the obvious. Bioavailability and context matter. Niacin from whole foods, like chicken, liver, fish, brown rice, mushrooms, and peanuts, comes packaged with a constellation of cofactors, fiber, fats, and phytonutrients that help modulate its absorption, utilization, and metabolic impact. These foods rarely deliver pharmacological doses of niacin and instead feed into your NAD system in a slow, regulated, evolutionarily familiar way. They don't flood your liver with milligram-level doses in one hit. Your mitochondria are basically saying, "Thanks, this is exactly how we like it." Contrast that with the niacin found in fortified flours, cereals, and processed snack foods, often added in synthetic forms like nicotinamide or nicotinic acid, and typically at levels well beyond what any single ingredient would naturally provide. These aren't subtle nutritional nudges, they're chemical dropkicks. You might be hitting the RDA before lunch, but you're also slamming your liver with a steady drip of excess niacin that, over time, may not be entirely benign. Emerging research suggests that long-term high intake of niacin from fortified foods might contribute to unintended health risks, particularly at the metabolic and cardiovascular level. The body metabolizes excess niacin through pathways that produce pyridone byproducts such as 2-PY and 4-PY, which are now being investigated as potential contributors to inflammation, oxidative stress, and even vascular dysfunction. These are the kinds of compounds that may sneak past the radar of standard lab tests, but quietly inflame tissues, raise insulin resistance, or burden the kidneys, especially when your dietary pattern includes multiple fortified products per day. There's also a major difference in how the body uses niacin from natural sources. Many whole food niacin sources contain it in bound forms that release more slowly or require enzymatic processing, built-in metabolic speed bumps that prevent sudden surges. Processed food niacin is often free, readily absorbed, and capable of overwhelming metabolic pathways, particularly in sensitive populations such as older adults or those with pre-existing inflammation. Even the supposed benefits of enrichment, like cardiovascular protection via cholesterol lowering, have been thrown into question. High-dose niacin therapy once seemed promising for lipid control, but large trials like ATM-High and HBS2 Thrive ultimately showed no reduction in heart attack or stroke risk, and even increased adverse outcomes like bleeding, infections, and new-onset diabetes. If supraphysiologic doses in pill form didn't help long-term, it raises legitimate questions about the daily drip of extra niacin many people unknowingly consume via fortified grains and snacks. Meanwhile, whole food-based diets have stood the test of time. Traditional diets rich in unprocessed plants, quality proteins, and healthy fats consistently deliver adequate, but not excessive, B vitamins, including niacin, without triggering toxic byproduct accumulation. These diets are also lower in added sugars and refined carbs, higher in magnesium and polyphenol, and far more supportive of a healthy gut microbiome. All factors that influence how well niacin is metabolized and whether it's used for cellular repair or ends up as waste. And here's the kicker. The people most likely to benefit from niacin-rich diets, those with metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular risk, or aging mitochondria, are also the most likely to suffer harm from chronic excess. Their livers are more easily overwhelmed. Their kidneys excrete less efficiently. Their immune systems are more prone to overreact. For these individuals, the goal isn't just to get enough niacin, it's to get it in the right form, with the right timing, and without collateral damage. So, does fortification work in an emergency? Absolutely, it's prevented widespread deficiency. But when it becomes the default nutritional model, used to mask the nutrient poverty of ultra-processed diets, it becomes more of a band-aid than a solution. Relying on fortified foods while ignoring dietary quality is like putting premium fuel in a car with no engine maintenance. Eventually, things break down. The long-term strategy? Favor whole food sources. Build meals around real ingredients, grains with intact fiber, meats and legumes rich in natural B vitamins, vegetables, nuts, and seeds that provide supporting micronutrients and antioxidants. Fortified foods can serve as nutritional scaffolding in some cases, but they're not a substitute for the metabolic nuance of nature's design. Because when it comes to niacin, as with many things in nutrition, more isn't always better, and sometimes enriched means nutritionally poor in disguise.